Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley, excited because Emmanuel Acho is back in the building. How you doing, big dog? Oh, I missed you, man. Kind of. Let's get started with our top story. Former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is suing the NFL and several teams alleging discrimination regarding his interview process with the Giants and Broncos and his firing with the Dolphins. The 58-page lawsuit includes a text exchange with Bill Belichick, which revealed the Giants already planned on hiring Brian Daboll before Flores' scheduled interview. Acho, what's your reaction to Brian Flores filing a lawsuit over the hiring process?
Man, only on Black History Month.
Welcome and happy Black History Month to you, brother. Boy, this is a welcome.
Oh, man, for me, it is this. Black coaches and black players all kind of knew this was going on, but we had no way to prove it. What do I mean? Okay. We all have two group chats. We all do. And I'm explaining group chats. We all got two group chats. One of these group chats has our annoying friend in it.
Hey.
And then the other group chat is identical to the first. However, we removed that friend. So when it's time to plan the Cabo trips, we hit the group chat without the annoying friend. When it's time to plan a trip to the DR, we hit the group chat without the annoying friend.
Smart.
Problem. Okay. The annoying friend knows the group chat exists, but they got no way to prove it. Unless you accidentally text the wrong group chat.
Damn, Bill.
And Bill Belichick
there it is.
accidentally texted the wrong group chat. Because black coaches knew that there had to be some sort of collusion keeping black coaches from getting adequate opportunities at head coaching positions. Black players knew there was something going on keeping black coaches out of adequate head coaching positions. The NFL playing force is 70.4% black players. However, there's one black coach out of 28 current filled positions. So they kind of knew something was going on, but no way to prove it. Until Bill Belichick texted the wrong group message. Figuratively speaking, obviously, he texted the wrong person. My reaction is you can't fix a problem on the outside unless you got somebody on the inside. Bill Belichick incidentally became that person on the inside because on January 24th, Brian Flores was set to meet with the Giants on January 27th. They established the meeting on the 24th to meet on the 27th. But on the 24th, Brian Flores got a text from Bill Belichick, congrats on getting the job. But the congrats was supposed to go to Brian Daboll. What does that simply mean? That the Giants already knew they were going to announce Brian Daboll, a white person. However, they set an interview for 3 days later with the black coach, Brian Flores. My instantaneous reaction is, you've been caught. We now know there's another group message that exists. We all thought it, but we couldn't prove it. But now it's as if there is proof, there is tangible, hard evidence. So many more layers. Excited for what you got to say. I know you're going to make me think so many different ways. But that's my starting point.
Okay, so complimentary. We're going to go everywhere. So let's start right here. Let me just start off by saying that Brian Flores should not have been fired based on merits, right? Based on record, based on resume. What he accomplished in Miami, on the surface, he shouldn't have been fired. But something my grandmother used to talk about, she said, don't forget Mr. And I was like, what's Mr., Mama? And she's like, merit and relationships. A lot of times I paraphrase that. I always talk about, to any situation, bring capital and human capital. Okay, so basically, it's always about merit and relationships. A lot of times we don't want to finish that sentence. We want to just say merit.
Yes, sir.
But then I look around here in the Fox studios and I see a Jimmy Johnson every now and then. And I was like, based on merit, he shouldn't be here. He shouldn't have got here that early. Remember, 12-4, won a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls. Was he fired? Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about it. My dear friend, the late, great Marty Schottenheimer, rest in peace, coach. 14-2, not fired on merit, fired because of relationship. And as you look at the situation in Miami, he wasn't fired on merit. He was fired because of a relationship. And it's crazy because in the real world, we think that we can build things from the ground up like a house. Yes, and that's how we look at business. But the problem is business is not built from the ground up. It's built from the top down. It's built from the owner and their perspective because whatever you own, you can make it look like whatever you want. And typically, it looks like what owns it. I just watched the G-Funk documentary. Shout out to Warren G. I DM'd him. He ain't hit me back yet. I guess he don't recognize me off the Instagram. But the point being this, I had to squint as they were going through Death Row and its enterprises and Suge Knight and Dr. Dre and their ownership of something. I had to squint to find a white person. I saw Jerry Heller like once. He got ran up out the building. I had to squint to find somebody that didn't look and reflect what owned it. And I could give you countless examples all across all the racial barriers. But when we distill this argument to just black and white, my initial response is it's a lot deeper than that. Okay, I got that out the way. Now, life is a sandwich. No matter how you flip it, the bread comes first. If we really want to address this issue, can we stop trying to build this house and build a business from the top down? If we don't have ownership, bruh, the rest of this is just antics. The rest of this is just sideshow. The average years of ownership of today's NFL owner is 39.8 years, rounded up to 40 years. They ain't giving up them ownership opportunities often, right? There's one right now, matter of fact. And there's one black candidate in the mix, Robert Smith, who I actually personally know. Point being, it's hard to get those opportunities. You look at the average tenure of an NFL executive GM, you come on down a little bit to 8 years. You go to the head coaches on the sidelines, 5 years. You get to the players on the field, 4 years. But the conversation seems to be about equality, equity, uniformity. I want to see everyone represented. Hey, y'all, this ain't no United Colors of Benetton ad. This is real life. Let me tell you in real life. Outside of your head, where does this exist? Give me one example in the real world where everyone is fully represented. And remember, it's not just a black and white conversation. My Latino brothers and sisters sitting there, hey, man, you know, my Asian brothers said, hey, man, gays, everywhere you look, someone is saying, me too. And that's the tricky situation when you get identity politics injected into business. All I see right now, unfortunately, is someone who has a case, someone who has a plight, but it's not the first one to have that same case.
Not the first one, and will unfortunately likely not be the last. Let's talk about these relationships, because I'm going to tell y'all something y'all probably have not heard before. My mind was blown when I heard this. But we know this much. The NFL is not a meritocracy. Marcellus has kind of alluded to that, saying Brian Flores should not have been fired because it's not merit-based fully. It's a lot relationship-based. The NFL, I've said this before, is based upon nepotism. You hire your family. That's not just my opinion. There's empirical data that supports it.
Facts.
2020, 9 of the 32 NFL head coaches were either the son or of a current, former head coach or an offensive defensive coordinator or position coach. 9 of the 32 lead coaches were either the son or father of a current or former NFL head coach, position coordinator, or position coach. Let's take it a step further. 63 of the NFL coaches were either related to biologically or by marriage to one another. 63 of the coaches in the NFL, 53 being white. So what we know is the NFL is relationship-based. We, like any industry, it's relationship-based.
Like anything.
We also know that the NFL is nepotism-based. 63 coaches are related biologically or through marriage. Here's the problem in the systemic issue. If we know the NFL, like society, is relationship-based, and we know the NFL, like society, is nepotism-based, hiring family, etc., then if the NFL was founded with white men, and the NFL is based upon relationships or family relationships, nepotism, and it was founded with white men, and they are hiring their family that are white men or white women, then clearly there's an issue that goes back to 50, 60, 70 years old. Because you can't dispute that, like society, everything is relationship-based. So now we just have to look to who and how was this league founded? And if the league was founded with white men, and we know, like everything, it's relationship-based, then very simply put, yeah, you're going to see a couple of black people infiltrate the system, but the stats very simply show that white men are going to hire white men, that are going to hire white men, that are going to hire white men, and you are going to have the occasional outlier. Marcellus brings up another great point. Robert Smith, he's in the running for the Denver Broncos ownership position. Robert Smith is the wealthiest black man in America. However, Robert Smith is only the 451st wealthiest person in the world. Why do I say that? Because these ownership positions only open up every 40 years.
Okay.
Well, we need black ownership. Clearly, you need black ownership because Marcellus says the point of ownership reflects the organization. That is true.
Yeah.
But if the wealthiest black person in America is only the 451st wealthiest person in the world, there's a whole lot of people that have opportunities as good as Robert Smith, if not greater. So that's just kind of where my next point in line goes.
Oh, man.
Where you at?
Golly, you took me back. You took me back. I'm back in class now. I wasn't a good classmate because when I had the answers, I wouldn't let you cheat. But when I didn't have the answers, you better let me cheat. Oh, this football player in me comes out. Two things I want to just highlight. I think that is being said, and conventional wisdom is interesting because it is oft repeated, but not always the truth. But it's convenient. So therefore, people just repeat it because who has the time to fact check? The NFL is not 70% black on the field. It's 70% of color on the field, right? Under 60%, they say black. Whatever.
58.
Yeah, 58. Yeah. Let's stop. Another thing is, I told you I know Robert Smith, right? So I'm going to defend the homie. Do you know that Robert Smith, right now, with his $6+ billion, is richer than 25 of the current NFL owners? So I know what you're saying, like in comparison to all the wealthiest people in America and in society, yeah. But in the NFL, he's creme de la creme. He has enough money to qualify. Matter of fact, based on the numbers, overqualified for it. I don't know that process fully and intimately to know if he's in front of the line or back of the line. But let's just say his money puts him close to the front of the line. That said, Acho, let's talk about some things right here. Rooney Rule. I told you it wasn't going to work. And people think that since I'm sitting here objectively saying it won't work means you're a sellout or you're not with the cause or anything like that. No. I don't care how it feels. I just care if it's real. If it's going to give me actual results, then you got me supporting it. If not, to me, it's just pom-pom work. You can't legislate desire.
Say that again, big dog.
You can't legislate desire. I have a company. Not many people know about it, but people have heard of it. It's called Dat Dude Entertainment. If you ever call me that dude, thanks for supporting my damn company. Guess what? Dat Dude Entertainment makes a couple bucks. Actually makes no money. If the Fed's watching, let me say, it makes some money, a little bit, here or there. It's not Acho Enterprises, but we working. Here's the thing. You want to know what Dat Dude Enterprises look like? Just take a picture of me. Chick. My sister, my niece. Come on. What are we doing right here? I think what we're doing right here is something that is the clash of morality versus reality. They call it in school morality versus economics. There's a great book out there called Freakonomics. Columbia guy wrote it as well. If you guys want to flip through those pages, you'll understand that in morality and ethics, you talking desire, you talking what you want and what you feel. And then economics just comes and smacks that upside the head and says, no, this is what's really happening. What's really happening right now is I think there's some hysteria in terms of the situation with black coaches. Do you know that black coaches get hired at a higher rate than white coaches rehired? When you get fired as a black coach, you have a better chance of being back in the NFL than a white coach. Now, the conversation is, but how many black coaches? And the quantity, of course. All I want people to understand is this case right here, reading through the 58-page class action lawsuit, which means who else is joining? Where is he going to get the allied forces? And I want to make sure I hear all of that. But at this point right now, he has a case, but I still see some holes in that same case.
The reason I won't say it's hysteria, and we got so much more on this.
You don't?
The reason I won't say it's hysteria is because if you're Brian Flores, and you know you had 19 wins with the Miami Dolphins over the last 2 years. That's the greatest stretch over the Dolphins' history since 2003. 19 wins over 2 years. And you get fired because of poor collaboration. That was the citing for why you were fired. Okay. But to Brian Flores' point, poor collaboration to some degree has discriminatory undertones because the only thing we couldn't collaborate over was me losing games and you wanting to pay me $100,000 to lose games. So if you're Brian Flores, you get fired prematurely. Now, after getting fired prematurely, well, hopefully I might have an equal opportunity to get hired because I've already unfairly and unjustly been fired. So at a minimum, give me an equal opportunity to get hired. Well, now when it's my opportunity to get hired, I understand that I don't even have the opportunity to interview for the job because they've already given it to somebody before giving it to me, and they're simply going to interview me to check off a NFL Rooney Rule. I read this, and Brian Flores said it in his report, that black coaches are often the first fired and the last hired. I can't speak in general, and Marcellus said the person who speaks in absolutes is the absolute liar, but at least you can make that case for Brian Flores.
Hey.
Brian Flores can personalize it and say, I was the first fired, not literally, but based upon how well I was doing, I'm the first fired, and now I'm the last thought to be hired because you're going to hire a coach with no NFL head coaching experience, Brian Daboll, when I am actually a perfect candidate. But going back to the issue, and I'll elaborate on it later in the show, but the issue is, think if you're John Mara, your dad owned the team. And when your dad owned the team, the greatest head coach that you saw was Bill Parcells. So if you're John Mara, you're trying to find the next Bill Parcells. Can't blame you for that. Bill Parcells took y'all some Super Bowls. However, Bill Parcells and Brian Flores, they don't look nothing alike. So if you're John Mara and you're looking for the next Bill Parcells, the next Bill Parcells, ain't no way he gonna be packaged in Brian Flores. So we all have to understand, I think it's a lot deeper than just, oh, they don't like black people, oh, black people. No. It's a lot deeper than that. If you are John Mara trying to find the next Bill Parcells, the next Bill Parcells likely does not look like that individual in you, John Mara's mind, because Bill Parcells looked nothing like that individual. So
No, don't you give me that finishing of the 400 where you just try to just hold on. We got layers in this, and we got this multiple times.
Show. You want to?
I want to do more. Okay, let me do my last one then. I know I get it. Stick. Hand me the stick. Let's keep running. Man, I know how to read, bruh, but I can't read intentions. And it's crazy out here people want to read intentions. I don't know what the hell John Mara's thinking. It's crazy like you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of their head coach. What they had? 3 head coaches in their entire history. One's black, so I guess they're like, oh, good, we handled that. Matter of fact, we started the Rooney Rule, so don't come up to Pittsburgh with this BS. Let me talk about 2 things. And one's going to pertain to this case exactly, and one's going to talk to what you said, hysteria. I heard in that same book I was reading, Freakonomics, and this is crazy, how in terrorism, the greatest threat to everyone is actually just the threat. Not living out the threat, not actually doing the threat. It's just the threat. And they made some parallels. I'm going to keep it simple. But basically, if someone walked up to you out your fun fact, and it's nothing fun about this, and said, how many black people were lynched in the 1960s? I'm going to tell you what I said before I heard this number. I was like thousands, hundreds, certainly a large quantity, right? And the Tuskegee Institute said that only 3, and I say only, but those 3, it's not an only, 3 people in the entire decade of the 1960s were lynched that were black. And that doesn't highlight that they could have been KKK lynchings, just in totality, 3 in the entire decade. Why do I bring that up? Because they talk about hysteria in that. Because conventional wisdom would tell you that number was much higher than that. But then they start talking about how this, using those numbers, as few as they are, as few as black coaches being hired or as few as black coaches that exist, can be exaggerated to make you think something that it's not. I give you that to get into this. Answer this. If you had to defend yourself against this lawsuit, whether you're Denver, whether you're the Giants, whether you're the NFL, the first question you would ask, everything thrown your way, is, would this also happen to a white candidate or a white coach? Here's an example. I want you to lose and tank $100,000 a pop. In any world, do you think that could happen to a white coach? Yeah, reasonable doubt. Okay, let's talk about this. Oh, you get a congratulations from Bill Belichick. Could Bill Belichick congratulate another white candidate or coach? Josh Daniels early? You could say, yeah. It wouldn't just be explicit and exclusive to just a black coach or black candidate. All I'm saying is, for this to truly stand on its merit, the toughest ask and the toughest task is going to be Brian Flores proving that everything that happened to him was explicitly because of his color. And if he can't prove that, This is going to be an interesting case. Coming up, the Chiefs are not making the trip to the Super Bowl, but we'll tell you if they should feel embarrassed for losing. Acho, you missed a couple days of our Chiefs talk this time. But first, Tom Brady called it a career and thanked a lot of people, a whole lot. But not the Patriots. Uh-oh. We'll tell you what we think of that next on Speak for Yourself. Tom Brady rewarded NFL fans for 22 years of excellence before calling it a career yesterday. Brady made his announcement with a lengthy post on Instagram and thanked a lot of people, but not Bill Belichick or Patriots fans. Hours later, owner Robert Kraft posted a statement for his former quarterback, and Brady responded, writing, quote, "Thank you, Patriots Nation." Oh, Nacho, what do you make of Tom Brady not mentioning the Patriots in his retirement post?
I think it's a huge deal. But here's where I will preface with, Patriots fans, Tom Brady did give you all more than y'all gave him. So I think we have to accept that very hard truth. Is regardless of how much money you all gave Tom Brady, regardless of how many cheers, and regardless of how many applause you all gave Tom Brady gave you all 6 rings, and he gave you all the ability to say you all are the greatest sports organization in the greatest league in America. So Tom Brady gave you all, Patriots fans, more than you all gave him. Conversely, it says a lot. And it means that there's much more beneath the surface than we all had any idea of.
Shall we?
Because to play for 20 years in an organization, win 6 Super Bowls, go to 9 if I'm not mistaken, win several NFL MVPs, several AFC East titles, and not thank the New England Patriots means that there must have been a whole lot of issues there that we never actually knew about.
Great.
It's no small deal. Now, Tom Brady is allowed to thank whoever he wants to. And that's why I don't have any issue with Tom Brady, because at the end of the day, it's his career and he's the greatest to ever do it. But make no mistake, it is a huge deal, and it is no small deal at all.
Yeah, man, I was very surprised. Like, Tom Brady, Mr. Brand, Captain America, understanding how things work. Very surprised that he didn't thank the Patriots. I thought he got the memo on how to navigate in today's BS world, especially on social media. You know how it goes. You've seen the posts. Oh, I like to thank my lovely wife. She's amazing. She's beautiful, while we're going through divorce. You know, like I don't care what reality is. Project what you want to project so you can proceed like you want to proceed. But if you don't do that, Tom Brady, all of a sudden we stop down and say, wait a minute. You're the GOAT, greatest of all time. The G that's in you, that G, was greatest in New England. And you didn't thank him? Oh, it takes me to Maya Angelou. Let's go here. She says, baby, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Ooh, Bill Belichick with your bad texting self. You made Tom Brady feel like he wasn't the greatest. And he paid you back by forgetting about you. Sounds like he suffered in silence, too. 20 years suffering in silence. Like, this dude, in 20 years, they haven't went to dinner. Like, you imagine you won 6 rings with someone. Coach, I love you. And in 20 years, we never went to dinner? You give me a game ball, and we have the most awkward moments. Are you going to hug me? You going to thank me fully? You going to give me a dap? Like, what? I see Tom Brady adding all of that up and finally saying, you know what? This is how I really think about you, because there wasn't an absence of thought. It was him thinking about it and say, I'm going to leave the Patriots absent from my thanks.
Yeah, you don't play 20 years with an organization, nearly half of your life. Nearly half of your life with an organization, and just forget them. Tom Brady intentionally said, I am not going to mention Bill Belichick and the Patriots, which is so mind-boggling to me, Sel, because as I'm reading it, I'm wondering and I'm asking myself, okay, who in the Bucs organization did he thank? And he went about thanking the Bucs GM, the Bucs owner, went about thanking Bruce Arians, thanking Byron Leftwich, thanking all these individuals. I'm like, big dog, you barely knew them. But real talk, over the course of it, you knew them for 10% of your career, less than 2 years out of 22. You knew them for less than 10% of your career. However, you thanked them and didn't thank the cats you knew the longest. It just really takes me to, and hopefully fans, this illuminates something for y'all, because this really should be the learning moment for fans. There's so much more than what you see on Sundays.
Yes.
There's so much more. Imagine, Sel, becoming the greatest of all time with an organization, but having so much turmoil with at least an individual within that organization, and maybe the organization in and of itself, that you do not thank them. Now, Brady might somehow make us all look stupid and come out with a retirement video in a couple of days where he's thanks Patriots, but
Too late.
exactly right. It's too late. I genuinely just think, hopefully fans, you come to the cognition of, dang, like Brady really didn't thank those dudes. What kind of beef must they have had to not thank them? Because in that moment, Brady is cognizant of who he is writing what out to, in what order, how he is saying it, how he is presenting it, and to not say anything says everything.
I know. You were with the Patriots from hello, and everything minus, like you said, 10% was built in New England. It took me back, dog. And this recently happened to me when I saw you win. Was it your first or your second Emmy? One of the Emmys, right? And you got up there and you thanked me and didn't thank Sam. And I was like, dog, Sam was with you picking boogers, and you up here thanking me. And you know what it made me think of you? As much as it was flattering, it made me say, Acho brand new. That's who Acho is. Brady, you sound brand new. 2 years ago, you didn't even know where Byron Leftwich lived. You didn't know where his house was. That's my dog, Byron Leftwich. I could have texted you and told you that. He didn't even know him. Now you thanking him, and you don't thank Bill Belichick? You know what? New England was forgettable times for him. And let's be real. Sometimes we go through life, we got a summer, we forget. And it's crazy. Sometimes you go through life, you may have a year that you went through a lot of inner turmoil. For me, it's 2004. 2005, my season, playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Before the first game, no excuses, y'all, but sorry. But before the first game, my mother comes out to visit like she annually did. This game, she's sitting around the couch. My mama never stayed quiet. You think I'm crazy. My mama was next level, always talking. And she was quiet. And I was like, Mama, what's up? You know, this is like August, September. She's like, got something to tell you. She told me she had breast cancer. I was like, whoa. So I was affected that whole season. Now, if someone comes up to me with something flattering about that season, I immediately get triggered by what I was going through. I think Tom Brady in 20 years, as you said, was going through a lot more than was being advertised. There's more to what you see on Sundays, and we are finding out in our world today, there's more than what you see on social media.
No, you hit the nail on the head. And really my last concluding thought as it pertains to Brady is like, he did handle it perfectly.
Okay, let's talk.
Aaron Rodgers has clearly been disgruntled with the Packers organization for years.
Yeah.
And we can go back to when Brett Favre was there and Aaron Rodgers had to sit behind Brett Favre, although Aaron Rodgers thought he was the number one talent coming out of his draft and was talented enough to be playing immediately. Been disgruntled. Okay, move beyond Brett Favre. Now the Packers don't even draft a skill position player during Aaron Rodgers' whole tenure until they draft his replacement. Aaron Rodgers has been disgruntled for years in Green Bay and has verbalized all of this discontentment. It's cost them games, thus cost them seeding, maybe cost them Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl chances. Yep. Aaron Rodgers and how he has been disgruntled. Tom Brady clearly felt, to some degree, the same amount of discontent. However, he quietly went about his business. He won his games. He rarely verbalized his discontent. He rarely did. He just decided to, one day after 20 years, part ways, and then after winning in his next organization, not thank them. If we are being honest, Patriots fans, even as you reflect on this, and as we reflect on this as a football nation, understand, Tom Brady handled this perfectly. Because you can clearly tell how upset he was by not thanking them. And the fact that he went about 20 years handling his business, giving y'all all y'all's rings, going to Tampa, winning another ring, and then he just simply said, I'm not going to thank y'all. And that is how you handle your business. You ain't got to kick and scream. You ain't got to do all that.
Yeah.
Handle your business like a pro. Move on. Handle your business like a pro. And when it's time to give your thanks, do what is best for you. I applaud Tom Brady for how he handled the situation.
I do as well, but I'm not going to lie. I applaud him with one hand. It's hard to make him meet because we're basically telling him, oh, we respect that you suppressed so much. Like his suppression is how he went around quietly handling his business, but mentally it was noisy, like really noisy to the point where he left them out of his thank you speech. Come on. The pay cuts. Everyone gives him props. The pay cuts. He took the pay cuts, and hey, I was supposed to take a pay cut for Wes Welker, and y'all let Wes Welker go. And he suppressed it, and he quietly went around, and he handled his business. 2014, when they draft Jimmy G in the second round, and quietly went about his business, winning Super Bowls, winning MVPs, but damn, did that take a chunk of flesh out of him. He had to be sitting there like, dog, I'm the GOAT. And y'all making me fight for my job, fight for my ranking around here for a guy who's unproven? Whew. Tom Brady, man. I really don't know if I'm really on board with this, because I don't think if you went 20 years quietly handling your business, you couldn't get one post off. One more post to finish the deal so we don't have this B block, so we don't have this conversation? I thought the GOAT was greater than that. Coming up, there's only one black head coach in the NFL.
Uh-oh.
We'll tell you how concerning it all is. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is suing the NFL and several teams alleging discrimination regarding his interview process with the Giants, Broncos, and his firing with the Dolphins. With the lawsuit, Flores said, quote, I understand that I may be risking coaching the game I love. Mike Tomlin is currently the only black head coach in the league, and there are 2 other minority head coaches. Acho, how concerning is the lack of black head coaches in the NFL?
Very concerning. And it's because the Rooney Rule is broken if it was ever fixed in the first place. But I'm hard-pressed to believe that the Rooney Rule was fixed if it never fixed anything. So it's very concerning. Let me personalize this. Okay. 2015, Chip Kelly got fired from the Philadelphia Eagles. I was going on my 3rd year with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles had a running back coach, a black running back coach by the name of Deuce Staley. He was a former running back for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
As soon as Chip Kelly gets fired, before the season is over, the Eagles interview Deuce Staley. Now, everybody and their mama, at least I, knew, Deuce, they not about to hire you. You've been a running back coach for 3 years. They not going to hire you, especially if they interview you before interviewing offensive coordinator, former NFL head coach Pat Shurmur, and who was white, and interviewing defensive coordinator Billy Davis, who had been in the NFL for 16 years at that point in time, who was also white. They weren't going to overlook both coordinators to hire you, a running back coach, but they had to interview you to check off the box of the Rooney Rule. Lo and behold, the Eagles go on to hire Doug Peterson. Now, obviously, y'all know Doug Peterson, white man, led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, phenomenal coach. 5 years later, the Eagles fire Doug Peterson. Once again, the Eagles interview running back coach Deuce Staley. Deuce, they not gonna hire you. But after interviewing Deuce Staley, the Eagles go on to hire a offensive coordinator for 2 years, former wide receivers coach Nick Sirianni.
Okay.
Deuce Staley chunks the deuces at the Eagles and goes to Detroit to be a running back coach. I guess he finally caught wind of what so many of us are catching wind to. More often than not, these black coaches are interviewing just to check off the Rooney Rule. The New York Giants, since the inception of the Rooney Rule, have only interviewed more than one minority candidate once. Since the inception of the Rooney Rule, the Giants have hired Tom Coughlin, Pat Shurmur, Ben McAdoo, Joe Judge, and now Brian Daboll. They have only met the requirement, exceeded the requirement one time. Y'all mathematicians at home, that's 1 out of 5 times. 20% of the time have the Giants interviewed more than one minority candidate. The Rooney Rule simply says, you just got to interview one. Marcellus said 30 minutes ago, and I will echo that sentiment now. You can't legislate desire. You cannot legislate desire. If you only ever do the bare minimum of an ask, you're only doing it because they told you to. You're not doing it because you want to. If Marcellus tells his son, or we don't even have to go there, if somebody asks Marcellus, somebody asks me, hey, can you clean the house? And you just go through and sweep one corner of the kitchen, I'm done. I'm done. You only did it because you was asked to. Conversely, if in-laws are coming over or spouse has been gone for a long work trip and now you cleaning it because you want to, it's not just sweeping the corner of the kitchen. It's not just hitting the counter one time, hitting the window with Windex one time. You are going above and beyond because you actually desired to do that thing. If you're only doing the bare minimum requirement of an ask, you're doing it because someone told you to, not because you want to. And it's become abundantly clear that more often than not, these teams are only checking a Rooney Rule box as opposed to actually trying to find the best candidate. They're just trying to make sure they do not get sued. Last story I will tell.
No, keep going.
2010, the Cowboys fire Wade Phillips and they promote Jason Garrett to be the interim head coach. The Cowboys had a black wide receivers coach, Ray Sherman. Ray Sherman interviews to become the head coach.
Okay.
He does not get the job. We all know how the story goes. Cowboys hire Jason Garrett. Here's what is so fascinating. If Ray Sherman was good enough to be the wide receivers coach as a black man, and if he was talented enough to audition to become the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, then why in God's name did the Cowboys fire him? You was good enough to be the receivers coach, and you was good enough to audition to be the head coach, but you now weren't good enough to maintain a position on staff? It simply tells you that the Rooney Rule is broken, but it was never actually fixed because it never actually fixed anything. And as a result, it's very concerning because there appears at least to be a problem in the minds of several individuals. Maybe not everyone, but there appears to be a problem. And I am concerned when you have a problem that has no solution.
Man, I didn't want you to stop, no lie, because you were just hammering points and speaking profoundly on them. Let me just get a little of this. Let me get some of these ribs. Deuce Staley, I used to play against Deuce Staley. Deuce was a beast. They interviewed him twice, right? It's in his name, Deuce. Like you said, Deuces. Okay, I got another one. Levity. I got to bring the jokes before I bring the pain. Ray Sherman turned out all right. Got to respect Ray Sherman. 2 beautiful daughters. One of them's the homie, Erica. Now, you know who Erica's with? Married to? Aaron Donald. Yeah, great from Hello. I remember I was playing and she used to show up at the Tampa Bay games and stuff like that. Now look at her. Amazing. Respect to the Donald family. All that said, let's get to the business. And we're talking business, right? NFL is a business. Boy, it's a hard wake-up call to players when they realize, oh, this is a business. This ain't a game anymore. Pop Warner was a game. High school is kind of businessy. Big time football, like you went to a UT, that's business. And the NFL, let's just cut it. Let's just stop it. This is full-time business. Now, I said this earlier, I'm gonna remind you guys, you build a house from the bottom up, foundation, but you build a business from the top down. So how concerning is the lack of black head coaches in the NFL? Not as concerning as the lack of black owners in the NFL. Y'all keep wanting to just go around in circles. I just went to Big Bear recently. You ever go there, a couple hours away? Amazing Los Angeles. You could go surfing and go to the snow in the same day. But I remember looking at the navigation and it said 1 mile. And it took like 30 minutes. Because you know what we did? All we did was go around a circle in that mountain. Talking about general managers, talking about coaches, talking about players. It's going around that mountain and not going that far. You want to affect this game and this business, you got to start from the top down, big dog. That's why Robert Smith, who potentially can own the Denver Broncos, who is richer than 25 NFL owners. Let me tell you the richest owners in the game. David Tepper, Stan Kroenke, Jerry Jones, Shahid Khan, Stephen Ross, Robert Kraft, Arthur Blank, Robert Smith, brother. He qualifies, let's just say that. No one else is richer than him. Now, let's get to this point. I'm getting tired of the equality, equity, uniformity conversation when no one has given me an example in the real world where that exists. Let's go through the NFL. Since y'all want to start here, let's stay at home. There are not enough black owners, not enough black GMs, not enough white players, not enough Latino GMs, not enough Asian owners. Like, where? All I say, outside of your head, party people, outside of your imagination, where does it exist? Ownership will make the things that it owns look like it. And it happens countless times. Now, to fix this situation, what shall we do? You got to look at Brian Flores in a vacuum. I say he should have kept his job by record. But as I said earlier, it's not just based on merit. It's based on relationship as well. You don't get along with the owner. In my company, you don't get along with me, I don't give a damn what color you are. We're going to have a problem. Now, should you have fired him? Some say yes, some say no. Why should you have fired him? Because 23 of the 32 NFL teams made at least one playoff appearance over the last 3 years. They weren't one of them. Why should you have kept him? His record, what he did to Bill Belichick, 4-2 over Bill Belichick, his record of 19-14. But more importantly, Cliff Kingsbury, Zach Taylor, who's now in the Super Bowl, all the same head coaching class of 2019. Kind of late bloomers, right? Cliff Kingsbury, you can see it. It's working. healthy at the quarterback position, it would have worked even better this year. Zach Taylor's in the Super Bowl. Why y'all getting rid of Brian Flores? So it's one of these situations. Whether you think it's right, whether you think it's wrong, you're right. All I look at this situation is let's stop stopping short and talking about black head coaches, and let's go to the top. Talk about black ownership.
Ooh, you on to something. Let's stop down for a second. You said that Brian Flores and the owner did not get along. The owner said that. Marcellus is just regurgitating the words of the owner. So this is not something that we can debate. It's something that is truly actual and factual. So now you at home and me at this desk, we got to ask ourselves the only pertinent question. Why didn't they get along? Like, that's the question on the floor that don't nobody want to talk about. Why didn't they get along? True story. The story will stick with me for the rest of my life. 2014, I'm walking into the cafeteria in the Philadelphia Eagles facility, One NovaCare Way. I'm walking in last. I'm doing my brown-nosing duties, trying to make the team. I'm in the training room. I'm in the weight room. I'm talking to my special teams coach. So I walk in last. True story. Everybody is in the dining hall, and they've all gotten their trays. They're sitting at the cafeteria table. I walk in and I stand at the bridge of the entrance because my mind was blown at that point in time. I'm looking into the room, and all the black players are sitting together.
There we go.
All the white players are sitting together.
Here we go.
Minus, true story, 2 people. Julian Vandervelde was a mixed offensive lineman. He was sitting with the offensive linemen. They were predominantly white. Chris Maragos is a white defensive back. He was sitting with the cornerbacks. All the DBs were black at that time. I was mind blown because I'm like, it's 2014. Segregation has been outlawed for roughly 50 years, give or take. And we have all segregated into communities that we all naturally feel comfortable with or get along with.
Yes.
Now, the communities were segregated, all black, all white. So then I had to ask myself, why is this the case? And it was the case because you get along with what you're familiar with based on what you culturally grew up around, at least in that example of 60 plus people, give or take, roughly 63 active roster practice squad, 61 at the time. So why doesn't a Brian Flores get along with the owner? Probably because there's a lot of cultural, if not racial or both, difference there. Let me tell y'all a very hard truth. This show. Let me tell y'all a very hard truth.
It's different. It's different.
During your most impressionable years, that's when you typically fall in love with what you are in love with. So what's your, I'm not even going to ask you because you've told me. Over the course of the show, Marcellus Wiley has often quoted Eddie Murphy's Raw.
And Delirious.
And Delirious. Those came out in the late 80s.
Nah, early. Early whatever. 80s. You weren't born in.
Clearly, I was not born.
You weren't here.
Otherwise, you quote rap artists that I don't really know about, early 90s. Because during your most impressionable years is when you fall in love with what you are in love with. During your late teen years, maybe your early college years.
Great.
Pause for a second, y'all. During Jerry Jones, white owner of the Dallas Cowboys' most impressionable years in college, Arkansas's football team, of which Jerry Jones was a captain, was still segregated. So if all of our favorite movies and favorite books and favorite TV shows we fall in love with during our most impressionable years, then we also fall in love with our favorite people during our most impressionable years. During John Mayer's most impressionable years, John Mayer is 67 years of age, where was society at the time? Segregation was still legal in private schools and had just become federally outlawed in public schools during these owners' most impressionable years. So if we can all admit that our favorite movies, books, TV shows, and songs we fell in love with during our most impressionable years, our teen years, we also have to have the cognition of realizing, wait a second, you also fall in love with your favorite people during your most impressionable years. The Dallas Cowboys have never hired a black head coach. I don't think that Jerry Jones is overtly racist, just like I don't overtly dislike Nelly or anybody else. Lil Wayne's just my favorite rapper. Because when I was 17, 18, and 19, Lil Wayne was hottest. So I don't dislike these other rappers. I just gravitate towards who I fell in love with as an artist during my most impressionable years. Jerry Jones, during his most impressionable years, was around all white people. Because it was literally impossible, legally outlawed to be integrated during those times as a captain of the Arkansas football team. So we all just have to understand what role race has played in our cultural understanding and relationships, and what role it is likely playing in hiring and firing practices. Whether or not y'all think we should do anything about it is a separate conversation. But the conversation has to be understood of who did you fall in love with and what did you fall in love with during your most impressionable years, and how is it impacting and affecting your actions today?
Just fell in love with that take. You took us places. Let's go some of those places. Let's revisit. Initially, what you talked about was a camp story, where you walking around at the Philadelphia Eagles facility and looking around. And the reason I gravitated towards sociology, I got a sociology major and psychology minor. I am no expert, but that's what piqued my interest in terms of studies at Columbia. I walked in freshman year. I was an aerospace engineer. That lasted one day because I took a math class. Good Lord, what are they doing up here? Where are the numbers? So sociology took my heart because it's a study. One of the definitions is a study of the patterns of life. And what you recognized when you were in Philadelphia was one of the patterns of life. And this is what people need to also recognize once you start assessing patterns. Know the difference between correlation and causation, okay? Know the difference between correlation and causation, because correlation loosely is about the relationship. Causation is the reason why it's occurring. So you gave countless examples of, there's some relationship situations that could make you think, but is that the reason? Is there a reason that Brian Flores was fired or went through a sham interview because he was black? Or is there some relationship situations greater at play? I love those stories. Let's talk about it again. Here's a Wileyism for you. The game is rigged. I want everybody to understand that when you take deep looks into people who are successful, the mindset that you see right then evolved. It didn't just land there. You evolved to that place. Know that the game is rigged, and you do the rigging. I hate when I have to talk to kids and I got to say, well, you know what you got to do? You got to run over countless hurdles and then hope that people don't really look at you like you're who you are, and then hope that people just give you a bump, and then hope that people really take care of you and pander to you. Instead of just telling them, look, here's the simple. The game is rigged and you do the rigging. If you don't take no for an answer, sooner or later, you're going to get to that yes, right? You're going to finally get to where you're going to get to. I just want the goal to not be just black head coaches. And especially if you look at the game in totality, we won. Former players changed my entire family structure and dynamic for history. And that was my goal. If your goal is to impact others to a greater level, it can't stop at the head coaching level. It has to go all the way to the top. It has to go to ownership.
My bad. I said we was done, but I just want to have this dialogue with my big dog here. So we know there needs to be black owners, but I think the dilemma cell is how. You mentioned the fact that your close friend, Robert Smith, he is the wealthiest black man in America, 451st wealthiest person in the world, is up for that Broncos ownership position. He would be the 6th richest owner, as Marcellus has made me aware of, if he were an NFL owner. The problem is ownership only changes every 40 years because it's usually passed down from father to son, mother to son, father to wife to son, father to wife to daughter, whatever the case may be. So if ownership is rigged, then the question is, how can you ever infiltrate this system? Particularly, the owners to some degree, I think, get to vote on who the next owners can come in and be.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have white people voting on ownership and 95% of the owners are white, how do you unrig the game, I think, is a problem. The question for you.
One, he's not a close friend, because if he were, I wouldn't be here. I'd be on a yacht somewhere hanging with my close friend. Let me do that. All my close friends that mooched off me. You think I wouldn't mooch off Robert Smith? There are 25 NFL owners that he's richer than. Man, that's some high-class society and company to keep. You're asking me a how question, and I love that because you go from why and you go from what to how, because then now all of a sudden you can see a path. You start to set micro goals. Now, I always preface it by saying there are no solutions, just trade-offs. Now, here's the thing. Acho, I don't know what you have inherited. I don't know what you've been given. I don't know what's been passed down to you in succession. I don't know what relationships you have fully. But if you were given something or you were in position to have something, how can I ever ever expect you to give it up when it is such a profitable entity. I don't expect any of these owners to give it up, as the average years of ownership is 40 years. I don't expect that to happen. But when the opportunity presents itself like it does in Denver right now, when the opportunity presented itself like in 2018 with Carolina, that's when you really got to start to see the efforts start to come together in community if you really want to affect change. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get through, but you can't take no for an answer. But the efforts right now, I'm not saying they can't be spliced, but on the field, we don't have this conversation, do we? On the sidelines and upstairs is where we're having the conversation. You got to continue in a quantity and quality conversation. Got to have the greater numbers, and you got to also qualify like Robert Smith does. Hopefully he gets this, because Michael Jordan broke down that door as well in the NBA. But to answer fully your how, bruh, if I were in a position of ownership right now, you're not getting it. It prints its own money. So that's the toughest play, how to get somewhere nobody else wants to depart. Coming up, the Chiefs season is over. That ain't racism. We'll tell you how embarrassed they should feel about not making it to the Super Bowl. Man, damn, that's next. Oh, speak for yourself. Why you always ask me how? The Chiefs' attempt at a third straight Super Bowl fell short after losing to the Bengals. But Andy Reid is keeping it positive, saying, quote, "Right now, things don't seem great, but because of this loss, but I think the future here is still bright." Okay, Andy. Positive optimist. Acho, how embarrassed should the Chiefs feel?
Very. Incredibly embarrassed. Here's the problem, Chiefs. You all talked such a big game, but now you all are heading in the wrong direction.
Oh.
Chiefs were talking about winning 3, 4, 5, 6 Super Bowls. Now, again, I took the 6 and 7 as hyperbole. Y'all remember Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, like, well, Jordan won 6, why not go for 7? It was a little facetious.
Okay.
But we knew this much. They wanted at least 2, 3. 4 seemed fairly realistic. But 3 years ago, they went to the Super Bowl and won. 2 years ago, they went to the Super Bowl and lost. And this year, they've gone to the AFC Championship game. So the Chiefs are literally trending in the wrong direction. It's not embarrassing alone by action, but it's embarrassing by action when you couple it with the projection. They talked a big game and by no means have backed it up. Furthermore, embarrassing when it's now time for us to do our projections. The Bengals, who beat the Chiefs, are younger than the Chiefs, as young as the Chiefs are. Jamar Chase is younger than Tyreek Hill. Zach Taylor is younger as a head coach than Andy Reid. Joe Burrow is younger as a quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. When you look at the Chiefs, they are an older team and a team that still was not able to defeat this Bengals team. So it's embarrassing because y'all talk this big talk, all this barking, but where was the bite when you needed it most? So Chiefs should feel embarrassed. Mahomes, to some degree, should feel embarrassed only because he ended the game going 5 for 21. That's not Patrick Mahomes like. You can't lose to the Bengals at home in a championship game when you are clearly the favorite, not just by Fox Bet, but also by talent. That's a bad loss, Sal. And it's a bad position that the Chiefs are in to truly no longer be feared and no longer be revered.
Embarrassed, strong. Chiefs should be embarrassed. Are you embarrassed? Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I saw those teeth right there.
But I went 50-50. I picked the Rams versus Chiefs.
No, we're not going to talk about
50-50.
where you're going to land softly. We're going to talk about the fact that you've fallen. Oh, man, Acho. You done hyping these Chiefs up to me? You done hyping up Patrick Mahomes to me without truly assessing the landscape for what it is and not calling me a hater or ill-informed? Because I'm just telling you, it's crowded at the top now, especially in the American Football Conference, especially at the quarterback position. When you weren't here, Joy Taylor filled in remarkably. And we had a conversation, got a little contentious, We kept our social distance, but still, we were going at it. And I said, Joy, you keep telling me how great the Chiefs are and how great Patrick Mahomes is. How many more Super Bowls will they win? She said, I don't know, probably one more. Patrick Mahomes, one more? And you just brought up the fact that they're embarrassed because they're trending in the wrong direction. I don't think that they should feel embarrassed. I think this is a team that you still got to go through to get to where you want to go. However, will it add up to Super Bowl championships? I'm a naysayer. I think this Chiefs team is not embarrassed by, we lost in this round. They're on a bell curve. Let's talk about the bell curve right here. When they got to the AFC Championship game, damn, Tom Brady. And we lost that coin flip. Then we got the Super Bowl, we won. Then all of a sudden, Super Bowl, no touchdowns, and now we're at the AFC Championship game once again, up 21-3, I remind you. But that second half by Patrick Mahomes, his passer rating was 12 in the second half. Not even a teenager. Good Lord, what was Patrick Mahomes out there doing? Grow up. They on the roller coaster. See, the bell curve is interesting because if you continue it, it could come back up. And I think it's still going to be high. I think they're still going to come up, but it won't add up because we already know Joe Burrow is there. And you say, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow is younger than you. Joe Burrow old as hell. He is younger than him, but he's still old as hell. But Joe Burrow's there. Josh Allen's there. Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Like, Deshaun Watson, whatever is going on with him, is still like, yo, whenever I get with a real team, it's crowded at the top. I think embarrassed is strong, but certainly what went wrong for the Chiefs, simply, its leader didn't fully lead.
Well, Sel, embarrassed, humiliated, but remember that root word of humiliated is humble. And if the Chiefs aren't humiliated, they are surely humbled. So it's really the same thing.
It's not humiliated?
It's when you have been brought low. You were at a high position and you were brought low. The Chiefs, y'all were at a high position. Mainly because people like me elevated you all there, but more importantly, you all elevated yourself there.
That's real.
After winning one, you all proclaimed that you all were going to go on to win 3, 4, 5, and more. And now you just have that one to show for it. Now, like LeBron James, and I said this before the Chiefs game, if you want to get to a Super Bowl over the last 4 years, pushing half of a decade, it's either going to be the Chiefs or you got to go through the Chiefs. So to some degree, the Chiefs can still say they run things because the Patriots in 18 had to beat the Chiefs to get there. Then the Chiefs went in 19. Chiefs went again in 20. And the Bengals in 21 had to beat the Chiefs to get there. So the Chiefs are still the gatekeeper to the Super Bowl from the AFC. So to some degree, they still run things. But now, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you're in a very tough position.
Let's go.
If you're the Chiefs, you're in a tough position. And I'll personalize it. The Chiefs can either end up like the Seattle Seahawks, and Patrick Mahomes can end up like Russell Wilson, or the Chiefs can end up like the Patriots, and Patrick Mahomes can end up like Tom Brady.
Wow.
Russell Wilson and the Seahawks were dominant, especially from 12 to 16. Like when I was in Philly, I didn't fear the Seahawks, but I was definitely conscious of their presence. You know what I'm saying?
Fearish.
I was like, you knew if you was going to play the Seahawks, oh my God,
man.
it was not going to go well for you. You might win, but it wasn't going to go well for you. Seahawks went to the Super Bowl and won. Went to the Super Bowl and lost, and were still a force to be reckoned with for years to come. But looking back now in 2020, we're like, Russ only won one Super Bowl? Seahawks only went to 2? Now, they have the great Legion of Boom, like the Chiefs have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. The Seahawks had this great allure, and the Seahawks were intimidating. But at the end of the day, that intimidation only got them 1 ring and 2 appearances. The Chiefs are flirting with that line. Will they end up being the early 2000s Seattle Seahawks, which were still dominant, but only won 1 chip, or be the New England Patriots from 2000 to 2020, which were dominant and won multiple Super Bowls?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. We just want to give the accolades before you actually have the achievement. And that's what's crazy. Like, you graduate, then you put your diploma on the wall. You don't put the diploma on the wall and then say, when's the ceremony? And it's so crazy. Oh, we did this with the Chiefs, and I'm the hater because I'm like, dog, I played against the Patriots, a real dynasty, y'all. They had to get the rewards and the accolades and the awards after the achievement, not before. So the dynasty that never was, you just brought up Seattle. What about Green Bay? What about the fact that Aaron Rodgers, you win a Super Bowl, next year you're 15-1? How'd that turn out? Now you look back, as you said, only 1. And I hate to slight someone and say only 1, and I have 0, but I'm going to do my damn job. Here's the biggest difference at the pro level that I want to highlight to fans than the lower levels, college, high school, Pop Warner. At the pro level, when you see someone coming, you see Goliath coming, you do something different than you do at the lower levels, I feel. You take away plan A at the pro level. You know what you do? You attack their strengths, not their weaknesses. See, growing up, all you had to do is be big or be fast when man, ain't nothing you can do. You try to find out what they're weak at, and you're like, we can't keep up. At the pro level, a Belichick style, you see Patrick Mahomes, you attack his strengths. You say, you know what? 2 things. One, we're going to play these high safeties, and we're going to see how much a gunslinger you're going to be. We coming at you like, be a gunslinger against this. And you're like, oh, my God, we're betting against Patrick Mahomes because we know what his strengths are. Another thing that they do also, you saw in this game, rush 3, drop 8. Oh, I thought you had all the arm talent to make all the off-angle throws and all the crazy throws. Well, throw them in those tight windows because that's your strength, right? And they attack your strength and they seduce you. And then all of a sudden you look, you're on plan B, your weakness. I look at this situation simply as this. If you ask me to bet, are the Chiefs going to be a dynasty? I would say no. Are the Chiefs going to be highly competitive? Absolutely, yes. The problem is, according to Patrick Mahomes and so many of their players, AFC Championship game, not good enough. Super Bowl appearance, not good enough. By their own standards, they will underachieve. Maybe they will feel embarrassed. Staying with the NFL, Terry Bradshaw still has plenty of money to give away, so Fox Bet Super 6, run and stack the cash one more time. Last two jackpots surpassed $325,000, and they want you to make this one even bigger. Scan the QR code, download the Super 6 app, enter your picks in the Super Bowl contest for your chance at the growing jackpot. And invite your friends too, because the more people who enter, the bigger the jackpot gets. Coming up, Brian Flores' lawsuit called out the NFL's hiring process. We'll tell you how the league can fix the lack of black head coaches next on Speak for Yourself. Brian Flores' 58-page lawsuit against the NFL and several teams is alleging discrimination regarding his interview process with the Giants and Broncos and firing with the Dolphins. Flores is coming off back-to-back winning seasons in Miami. Mike Tomlin is currently the only black head coach in the NFL. So, Acho, how does the NFL fix the lack of black head coaches?
You can only fix it by a couple ways, a couple reasons, a couple things. You need a couple covert operatives. You need some cats on the inside.
Talk to me.
To let the cats on the outside know what's going on the inside. What did Ben Franklin say? Justice won't be served until those that are unaffected are as outraged as those that are affected. Now, clearly, it does not appear that white head coaches or white owners are all that outraged about the problem. Bill Belichick didn't accidentally text Brian Flores because he was outraged. It was an accident. That's the operative word there. What's the other quote that we're so familiar with? The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Now, we don't have to overly emotionalize this and, oh, Acho, you're going to call this evil, but it is unequal. Now, to Marcellus's point, you can say that nothing in this world is equal, but nonetheless, let's address the inequality here on our sports show, because we do a sports show.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of unequal is for good men to do nothing. And as it stands right now, you need the people in power, the coaches, the owners, the white individuals who are currently running the show to address the problem. But it's the same thing I have always said. Denial, spelled D-E-N-I-A-L. Don't even know I am lying. You can't fix a problem you don't know or acknowledge exists. Acknowledge a problem exists, thus you can fix the problem. But we can't act as though this problem or this discrepancy doesn't exist. You can choose whether or not you want to call it a problem, but at least we have to acknowledge there is a discrepancy. Now that we've acknowledged there's a discrepancy, what do we want to do, if anything, about the discrepancy? But how do you fix it? Sal brought it up 15 minutes ago, and we'll talk again about it now. You need black people in hiring and firing positions. You need people of color in hiring and firing positions. If the NFL is 70.4% people of color and 58.6% or 0.7%, excuse my small error, black, then you need ownership that might to some degree reflect the working force. Now, we understand that America's population is only 13% black. But when we zoom in at the microcosm of the NFL, the micro-organization of the NFL, now the playing in the working field is 58% black. So you might want that to be reflected in ownership, at least if you want there to be some level of parity, understanding going along culturally. So how do you fix it? Acknowledge it exists. You need a couple covert operatives, and you need the people in power to do something about it.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to just say, nah, I'm not running in that building with that plan, bro. Covert operatives. What the hell you want? You want Pookie to run in the Carter and say, hey, Nito. Oh, nah, B. Oh, God, let's start here. I don't have a solution. What do I have? A trade-off. Y'all know what this is. What shapes behavior? Anybody out there? What shapes behavior? Incentives. Here's
punishment.
Well,
but the same thing.
Yeah.
Really
incentives and penalties. Yes. Okay. I'm a billionaire many times over. I own an NFL team that prints money. If incentives shape behavior, what can you do to incentivize me when I have everything I need? Okay, so then you start to flip and you say penalties. Now, penalties start to splice. Penalties try to shape your behavior, but they have a greater impact in incentivizing decorum. Basically, you can make people act like they are caring about what you're doing when they really don't give a damn. Let's talk about this and what happens in our world and to our society today, because there's a lot of trigger words out there. There's a lot of trigger moments out there where you don't really have balance in conversation because decorum is at play. We must show in good taste. We must act this moment out rather than getting to the core, which is going to be an ugly truth of this ugly moment's existence. So let's start at the top. If we don't have black owners, you're not going to see the level playing field of black general managers, executives, or maybe even head coaches. I'm going to tell you why. One, equality doesn't exist. I hate when people. Okay, you mad at me for saying it? Okay, show me in this world where equality exists. Go. Anywhere. Outside of your imagination, between your two ears, people out there. Okay, text me, tweet me if you know. All right, here's the thing. If you don't see equality anywhere other than in your utopian imagination, how do you get it? When the reality is anything that is owned reflects ownership. Like the company I have reflects me. And that's not just in color. That's in likeness in terms of what I think. That's in likeness in terms of what I'm culturally about. It's in likeness in terms of what my sensibilities are. I heard you on Colin's show, and I was prepping for this show, and I was like, let me just make sure he ain't gonna come with some of them off-speed pitches, right? Doing my homework, doing my nerd research. You did a tremendous job. I hope you get paid overtime for doing all these damn shows. Here's the thing. One thing that it was really interesting that you brought up, and I want to really talk about, is the fact that right now, if you look around, you said you didn't know any owners intimately, like, no, right. I can say I know Dean Spanos intimately. One, I know some other owners in different sports, but Dean Spanos, I play for the Chargers. I still work with the Chargers all the time. You know that two of his sons run the Chargers, one in business, one in football. And that's the way it's supposed to go. Because you know why? I'm not bitter at that. I'm not mad at that. Because damn it, if I had those cards, I would play them the exact same way. You think Araya, you think Maraca, you think Olivia, you think MJ ain't running whatever daddy creates? You got it twisted. And it's crazy in our world today when we look at real life examples of black ownership, it looks like the owner. But when we see situations where we don't, I don't know if there's really the outrage that's necessary, because what are you outraged at? With those same cards, would you play a different hand?
That's a phenomenal point. And realistically speaking, I don't know how or why I would be incentivized to unless I was incentivized. Let me say something that's really just to make y'all think. I'm not going to make this as a declarative opinion.
My dog.
It's just going to hopefully make y'all think. How can the NFL fix the lack of black head coaches? Change the way that black people are viewed. Sel, your oldest daughter's how old?
22 years young.
22. You still call her your baby?
I call her my baby, except when she send me these texts talking about she need money. But yeah.
So Marcellus's oldest daughter, 22 years young, and he forever calls her his baby.
That's my girl.
I'm 31 years old. My mom still refers to me as a baby. It does not matter how many houses I have, how many cars I buy, how much money I make. I will forever be her baby. That is how she will view me. These owners, Jerry Jones, when he was in college, during those impressionable years, 20, 21, Arkansas was still segregated. So black people did not even have access to the same water fountains, the same bathrooms, the same swimming pools. So when Jerry Jones was growing up during impressionable stages, there is a chance that he viewed, because society told him to view black people as lesser than. It's not my opinion. These are the facts of what society was based upon that time. So many of these owners during their impressionable stages viewed black people a certain way because society said black people were a certain way. if our parents, you as a parent, can view your child as a baby, even though they are the furthest thing from a baby. If my mom can view me as a baby, even though I'm the furthest thing from a baby, and I will continuously prove that day in and day out, it is not too far-fetched to think that we can view someone or something a certain way, even though they have completely changed the way we should perceive that thing, because once upon a time, we viewed that person or that thing a certain way. So if we want to change how few black head coaches there are, you might have to fix the perception of black people at large that might still be existing based upon these owners in society. We once upon a time viewed short quarterbacks a certain way. It ain't gonna work. But then Steve Young, Drew Brees to a degree, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson definitely debunked how we viewed short quarterbacks. We once viewed black quarterbacks a certain way. But now, over the course of time, we've had some black quarterbacks debunk how we view black quarterbacks. We once viewed black people a certain way. Just look at the segregation that existed not too long ago when Jerry Jones was in college. So how can we fix the lack of black head coaches? We got to fix the perception that might, I'm saying a strong might, but possible. We have to fix the perception that might exist of black people, because if your parents will always and forever view you as a baby, there's a possibility that an owner can always and forever view a black person as lesser than, because during those impressionable years, a black person was told and taught to be lesser than the society they exist in.
Oh, man. We got to be here. We got to go here.
We don't have to.
Yes, we do, baby. You ever seen Baby Boy? Oh, Baby Boy touched on that. Respect and rest in peace, John Singleton, my dog. The onus is not on the NFL. The onus is not on ownership in the NFL to change how we're viewed, I feel. I think there's a responsibility in the media, which I will talk to, but here's a saying that kind of starts off and gives you a premise of where I'm going. If it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me, not them. Because I grew up with a perception of me. That wasn't reality. But if it's to be, it's up to me, not them. In the chicken and egg conversation, who's going to change first? Let's be real. I got to do it to change what you're even thinking about this said situation. The media is responsible, though. Let's talk about it. You and I are more responsible than the NFL, the business, because we sit here and we have microphones and we have a worldwide audience that we know who is listening to us, who is gathering around, who is getting information from us. The media controls the only consistent meeting ground for all people to leave their comfort zones. Think about it. In your own box, in your own comfort zone. The first time I ever left my neighborhood, my house, my apartment, my block was not physically. It was turn that on and let me watch different strokes. Let me start to see outside of these borders, etc. We have a greater responsibility to me than the NFL. But with that said, I don't put that on them, man. And I don't think this conversation is about that. I think this is a status quo conversation that we're upset that we don't have the status. Only way to get it is a Robert Smith, owner, black guy. Take that and move forward. Last thing I'm going to say is the difference between perception and reality, which I was talking about before. You see a trampoline, you see a safety net. They both catch you, but they do two different things. And I've seen this before. I've seen this from a sports psychologist before. And it's so interesting if you see them both laying there and you fall from that high wire act of living your reality, living your life, trying to aspire to your dreams. You fall on a trampoline, you can bounce up, maybe even as higher. Fall on a safety net, that's a wrap, brother. That's it. And I want people to understand that when we're taking these steps towards progression, whatever your dreams aspire to be, what you would like to say equality, which I don't think exists, just know what you're stepping on. It's not the same thing, even though it may look the same.
Let me say something, and you're going to be so mad because they're going to make you want to go. They're going to make us go to break after this, but I'm going to say something.
No, do you?
Keep in mind, though, Sel,
Uh-oh.
I do think a lot of the responsibility falls on us, the media.
Yes.
The media can be censored, too, because we've been directed not to talk about certain people and not to talk about certain things on this show. And those people and things ain't never been black. Now, we have chosen Deshaun Watson, I'll tell myself, to avoid certain topics because I'm close to him and his camp and whatnot. We have chosen to not talk about black people on this show. And you've been like, hey, Acho, you gonna wait for more information on this before we da-da-da-da-da? But there have been certain people and things that I'm not gonna say too many names. We'll say them when we get to commercial. But there have been certain people.
We talked to Deshaun, though. We had to wait.
We did, but we waited because you waited because I said, hey, let's wait. But
I got to respect you if you want to wait.
That's my point. But there have been directives that come above you and I who we can't talk about.
Family.
So there even comes people who you can't even talk about certain things. So even though there is onus on us, the media, we still can't say everything we want to say because what you say, either way a sandwich is flipped, the bread comes first.
Oh,
and whoever
man.
dictates the bread dictates the topics, and we can only say certain things as the media. So either way, bro, there's a system in place that you still can't trump, even though we want to trump it, you can't.
Boy, you went there. Deshaun, you lucky he was here, boy. I was ready for you. Coming up on Speak for Yourself with Joy Taylor. You out of here. No, man, that's my dog. The writing appears to be on the wall at quarterback for the 49ers. We'll tell you if they regret how they handled Jimmy G and how we handled our censorship. What did you just say? What's next on Speak for Yourself? The 49ers had their end of the season press conference yesterday. And although Jimmy Garoppolo came close to making his second Super Bowl in 3 seasons, he appears to understand the team is ready to move on to trade Lance and expects to be traded this offseason. So, Acho, should the 49ers regret how they handled Jimmy G?
No, sir. It played out perfectly. I know we've been heavy. Brian Flores don't have that much time, so I will come with my best take consolidated right here, right now.
Get it.
All you can hope for in this life is to make the best decision possible with the information you're given. That's all you can hope for. I'll start casino example. You can't win every hand. In the casino, it's a game of chance. But all you can hope is that you make the best decision with the information you are given. If the dealer is showing a face card, a 10 or something, a king, whatever the case may be, and you got 16, if you hit and you pull a 6 and you break because you have 22 and anything above 21 is a bust card, you're disappointed. But as soon as the dealer flips over their other card and you realize, oh, they had 20, so you had to hit because you would have lost anyway, 20 versus 16, you're like, you know what? I didn't win, but I don't regret it because I made the best decision possible with the information I was given.
Right.
The 49ers did not win the Super Bowl, but you can't regret it because you made the best decision possible with the information that you were given. You got to an NFC Championship game. Jimmy G was ready to play and lead you far, and Trey Lance was not, obviously. That was the best decision. You retained Jimmy G on the roster. That was the best decision. Jimmy G got hurt over the course of the season, so you knew Jimmy G is injury prone and he got hurt again, so you drafted a quarterback. That was the best decision. Did you end up with a winning hand? No. But at least as you look back on the hand you played, you made the best decision possible with the information that you were given. I look at this 49ers and Jimmy G's situation as I look at me playing blackjack. You might not have won, but after the dealer flips over their last card and you realize, even though I lost, I would have lost anyway. At least you understand you made the best decision possible with the information you were given. The 49ers did not win the Super Bowl, but clearly they would have lost anyway. But at least they can sit on the fact of we made the best decision possible with the information we were given.
Could they get better information? Because that's whoever told you to go get Trey Lance while Jimmy G was still taking y'all to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I got hurt. Taking y'all to the championship game. Where they do that at? And where do they do that better than what Jimmy Garoppolo has done? I keep talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, answering the question, and I understand the trepidation with the 49ers organization. I understand their hesitation to commit to Jimmy Garoppolo once again. It's because every time I talk good about Jimmy, I'm right. And every time I talk bad about Jimmy, I'm right as well. But this has been a process that's been very smooth. I think very candid, very transparent, and very forthright. I respect the process. However, they should have never started the process. They should have never moved up to get Trey Lance. They should have never did this to Jimmy G because Jimmy G has the 4th best winning percentage of any quarterback since 2016. 6th best winning percentage of any quarterback since the merger. Let me tell you some quarterbacks that he's won more than of late. Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Dak, Russell Wilson. Jimmy G puts himself in a position where you say, well, look at how he plays, and it's always going to be a mistake that we have to win in spite of. I give you some of that, but I also give you a guy who has 2nd all-time in completion percentage with Drew Brees, if he gets a few more snaps. Point being, Drew Brees was Mr. Accurate, and you're right there with him. There's so much about his game to like, especially how much he wins. I didn't think this was a smart process to start. But once they hit the send button, once they finally got the thing out, okay, I give them props for that. But why Trey Lance? He's a great unknown. We'll see if he can do better than Jimmy G. Coming up, there are still 5 head coaching jobs remaining in the NFL, and we'll tell you which is the best available next on Speak for Yourself. With Josh McDaniels headed to Vegas and Brian Daboll to New York, there are now 5 head coaching vacancies left in the NFL. Vikings, Saints, Texans, Dolphins, and Jaguar jobs all have their pros and cons. But Acho, what is the best head coaching job remaining?
One very simple answer, the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings are the only head coaching job where you have a quarterback and you have a defense that you might already be the best in your division. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, he's probably not going to be there, so better than him. Justin Fields, he's just not prepared yet. And Jared Goff just is Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff is a good quarterback. He's taken him to a Super Bowl, but I think we have established Jared Goff's ceiling. Minnesota, you already have Kirk Cousins. Then on the defensive side, you have Kendricks, you have Anthony Barr, you have Harrison Smith. You have some dogs on defense, plus Kirk Cousins at the quarterback position, and we know your team goes as far as your quarterback will take you. We've seen that with Joe Burrow on one side. We've seen that this year with Matthew Stafford on the other side. Your team can only go as far as your quarterback. Ask the Tennessee Titans, and to some degree, ask the San Francisco 49ers, who had every seemingly great piece, and Jimmy G wasn't even bad, but we just knew Jimmy G wasn't as good as Stafford. So knowing your team can only go as far as your quarterback, give me the team, give me the vacancy, give me the organization that currently has a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's Minnesota, but it's closer. You said it was simple. It's not that
close with you.
Jacksonville. I'll tell you why. Look, do you want to live in Minnesota versus Jacksonville? Harbaugh had to go down there on signing day. What the hell is Harbaugh doing? He out. Michigan, he out. Like, who leaves on that day to do an interview? Okay. Minnesota, because if you look at both rosters, there are some real good highlights in terms of talent and potential on both rosters. But the kicker for me is the Minnesota Vikings. If you look at 8 of their 9 losses last year, by 1 score. So not only just the overall record, but they were close in a lot of those ball games. But it's hard to pass up Trevor Lawrence and everyone that they have, James Robinson, you can respect, Marvin Jones, but Trevor Lawrence and his upside potential versus Kirk Cousins and his obvious ceiling. So I understand that there's greater assets in Minnesota and a greater team right now. But boy, don't you want to bank on that potential? Don't you want to ride that wave? Not as simple as just Minnesota. Coming up, Patrick Mahomes came up short on another Super Bowl appearance. We'll tell you if the Chiefs' run of dominance is over. Next, the Chiefs hosted their 4th consecutive AFC Championship game, but came up short on making the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes and offense stalled out in the second half and blew a 21-3 lead to the Bengals. Andy Reid remains confident in his team, saying, quote, I think the future here is still bright. All right, Andy. So is the Chiefs' run of dominance over?
Yes, but it depends how you define dominance. Again, I think the Chiefs are going to end up being like the Seattle Seahawks from 2012 to 2020, or even from 2012 to 2017, really. We know every year they are going to compete in the AFC. Okay. We know more than likely you are going to have to get through the Chiefs to get to a Super Bowl. We know the Chiefs might even appear in another Super Bowl, but they might not. Now, in my mind, because I was in the NFC during the Seattle Seahawks' incredible run, Legion of Boom and all of those things, the Seahawks were still dominant, if you ask me. Yeah. I remember 2014, we're in the playoffs, we lose to the Saints, and I was like, even had we beat the Saints, we weren't going to beat the Seahawks. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl that year, so it wasn't even my pessimistic thinking. The Seahawks were voted the best defense of the generation based on that team that went on to win the Super Bowl, whatever year that was. So I know that they were dominant, but retroactively, hindsight, they weren't all that dominant. Depends how you define dominance.
Define it,
I
then.
think the days of the Chiefs winning multiple Super Bowls and all that jargon, I think that's done. I think the likes of our boy Nick Wright being able to puff out his chest and talk all crazy.
Nick got a chest.
I think that's done.
Done.
I think the Chiefs will still be one of the best 3 teams in the AFC annually. So they will still be a dominant force in the AFC. But I no longer think that the Chiefs are going to be a dominant force in the National Football League.
It's over. And I hate to remind y'all, because I know no one wants to hear it, it really never started. But y'all so far ahead of yourselves wanted to just say, let's put the plaque on the wall before we actually have the achievement. That's what's wrong with this world today. Everybody wants awards before achievement. Okay, they never were a dynasty. Stop it. Their expectations are to win the Super Bowl, their own words. And they said they were going to win 7, or why not 7? Facetious or not, I don't give a damn. It came out of your mouth. Your mindset was dynasty. You're not even close. You're going to be able to look at this team and say contention every single year. I think they're going to be in the thick of things. But here's the problem. It's going to be thick. It's crowded at the top. All these teams with all these quarterbacks, especially in the AFC, they're going to be right there with Patrick Mahomes. Yes, I said it. Joe Burrow already in the Super Bowl. Yes, Josh Allen's like, coin flip away, baby. I'll see you next year. Justin Herbert's like, just let me in the club. Let me just get my squad right. Defense, come with me. Lamar Jackson's like, yeah, my ankle will heal, y'all. I'm coming back. Deshaun Watson like, trust me. I'm going to handle this off the field, then I'm going to handle y'all on the field. It's all going to come to life. But let me just be a little more objective, because I think it gets lost that people just think I just don't like the Chiefs. It's not because I play for the Chargers. I also play for the Cowboys. They don't hate the Chiefs, and I like the Cowboys. Y'all make no sense. Let's list how many quarterbacks have won one Super Bowl in their first 5 years. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, on that list, and there are 11 others. 4 of them were part of a dynasty. Brady, Aikman, Montana, and Bradshaw. The other 7, no dynasty. That includes you now, Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be 8. Let's talk about how many quarterbacks played in 2 Super Bowls. I know how y'all think. Oh, well, he played in 2. How many played in 2 in their first 5 years? Oh, I got a number of 7. 2 were part of a dynasty, Brady and Aikman. The other 4, Kurt Warner, was that a dynasty? John Elway, won back-to-backs, and y'all don't even want to call that back-to-back. They don't call it a dynasty. Big Ben, dynasty. Russell Wilson, like you said, dynasty. No. Add Patrick Mahomes to that side with the other 4 names. Point being, amazing start, tremendous start. Will always be there. You got to go through them to get to where you want to go. But in terms of dominance, dynasty, and all that other dumb stuff, hell no, it's a wrap. It's over. Take that, Nick Wright. Coming up, Washington has a new name. The Commanders. We'll tell you if we like it or not. Where's Schwarzenegger at? Nick Wright, where your Lakers at too? Oh, speak for yourself. That's right. The Washington football franchise finally has a name after almost 2 years since retiring their old one, and much speculation. They unveiled their new name and their new logo, the Commanders. Acho, what are your thoughts on the Washington Commanders?
It's too many letters. Like, Commanders is just too many letters. Like, think about that, bro. You got to put that on a jersey. First off, it's way too hard to mispronounce.
10?
And it's not even mispronounced. It's way too hard to misspell. Like Commanders, like y'all, people will be like, okay, is that 1 M? Now that I have 2 M's.
Let me see this.
Commandors or Commanders or Commandars? Like, it's just too much.
Don't go ER, not in Black History Month. Don't call them the Commanders.
Is there an apostrophe?
Well, like, are you dumb?
You know, if it's personal, then Commanders with an apostrophe. If it's not personal, then it's just Commanders, no apostrophe. It's just too much going on.
Oh, man. My first thought for real was like, did they run out of animals? Like, are they supposed to be like an animal or some like object? Like, Commanders. Like, it's just too.
That's terrible.
The best way I heard it is when Coben said, it sounds like a movie football team. Like, you know what I mean? Like a Disney after school special. The Commanders are out there and they're running a 4-3. Like, what the hell? Did they take this to vote? Snyder, hit your boy, man. Y'all got to do better than this.